Okay, my experience of the upstairs hallway was, again, fairly quiet to start with. Then I noticed that the hallway was getting progressively darker. Not a lot happening at the time. Then the rest of my group moved off into the kitchens and I stayed in the hallway. I managed to get some responses to questions. I was asking for certain lights to flash and answer to yes or no, which I managed to get. Had a spirit of a lady come through. She didn't die here, but and wasn't looking for anything. And then unfortunately I got interrupted, and so I finished that session there. Then a bit later on I had another spirit through, found that it was a man called John, but wouldn't confirm or deny any kind of surname. So that was my experience up in the upstairs hallway.
Right, well, location 2, the upper hallway and kitchen area. When we first got up there, we went to the upper hallway, and I've got to admit, I didn't really feel anything, but I could hear some noises coming from the kitchen. So Paul, Tori, Liv and I moved in towards the kitchen and left Amy in the hallway. The first room we went to, we went back to the first room, and I felt somebody, when we were doing the vigil, when we were holding hands, move my necklace, roll my necklace up my neck. Now that movement can only be done if someone's actually moving it with their finger, and it moved up my neck. And I felt like there was definitely somebody stood in between me and Tori. So when we moved into the other area, Liv and Paul made their way into the back of the kitchen, and we were stood in the middle bit, and I definitely felt watched from every angle. And we started the planchette, put the pen in and did the automatic writing, and we had some definite movement. I mean, it was really strong, and it definitely spelled out John. We're not quite sure about the surname, but we were having some awesome stuff go on. That's all.
Okay, so up in the upper hallway we got a few noises coming from the kitchen while we were in the hallway. Then we moved into the smaller room. Atmosphere was quite close. It felt quite heavy. Got a few tapping sounds while we were in there, and some movement out in the main kitchens. Moved out into the main kitchens. Definitely heard footsteps behind me as we were walking through into the second set of kitchens. And as we came back through into the first set, saw someone move across.
Location 2, upper hallway and kitchen area. General feeling of uncomfortable, and we decided to do the auto writing. We feel that we had a definite first name. The planchette would move straight away, and we feel the name was John. We couldn't quite work out the surname given, but definite activity.
What I experienced in the upstairs hallway.
Yeah.
Basically what I sort of experienced was when we got up there, we all split up and went into different areas. I found myself sort of leading towards that long hallway with the doors going off where we had the light sensitive equipment in the corridor. And while I was standing there, the lights were going off and on and flashing and flickering, which hopefully the static camera would have caught while I was standing there. But it seemed to be no pattern with the noise itself from outside. There was no noise that I could hear while I was in there. It was very, very quiet and very still, but the lights were still lighting up. We all got back together and we did a few call-outs with 2 people in the corridor, 1 in the room off to the side, and Tim and myself were in the main part. Whilst we were doing call-outs, people sort of thought they'd seen the movement in the kitchen area, and so I turned the handy cam on. I was filming in that area, and there were a few sort of small noises, nothing that I could tell you what they were. They were sort of small rustling type scraping noises, but very, very quiet. So I went in there with the camera. Whilst I was in there, I was filming away, asked a few questions. At one point I had an orb move across the camera. Having moved around the area a lot since, there were a few moths in the area, so it could have been just a moth that was in that area that had sort of caused it to look like an orb. Ready to go?
Yeah.
So yeah, while we were in that area, I was in that kitchen part, and so it could have been a moth that was the orb. we decided to do some call outs. Nothing really untoward, only I did get the feeling of something standing behind me. Sort of the hairs on the back of my neck were standing on end, and just really felt like someone was standing behind me. Nothing else there when we reviewed the dictaphone to see if we picked anything up. We moved to another area, did the automatic writing. The planchette did move. There was nothing that we could really make out on there, but there was movement. I was keeping my hands on people's eyes on people's hands to see if they were moving it, but everyone was sort of fingertip pressure. It would have been quite hard to have moved there. The final experiment we did was to have Tim in that room with the planchette while the rest of us went off to the other end of the corridor. We asked for a few things for whatever was there to do to Tim. What we asked for was the left side of his face to be touched, something to pull his hair, something to poke him on the back of the head, something to touch him on the face, and to make noises around bang in that room. Whilst we were doing the call outs, there were a few sort of clicks on the radio. Whether that was paranormal or not, I don't know, but it's just what we heard. And at one point the lights did go absolutely crazy in that corridor, and there was no noise other than what was coming from us. And at that point we were being pretty quiet, so it's possibly could have been something, but I don't know. Cool.
Okay, we were stood upstairs in the hallway, two girls, one at either end, and when I looked across in the glass at the far end of the kitchen, I saw what in my mind what appeared like a man's shape. It was hazy, but at the same time my hairs around my arms rose up, and I got very, very hot, and it was a strange experience, and I felt something was present. All of a sudden the atmosphere went very cold, and again the hairs in my arms all stood up, and the atmosphere just changed, which was quite unnerving. It went from being normal and calm still to, I don't know how to explain it, sorry. It just felt that something wanted to make themselves known.
Okay.
And at the same time the radio was crackling on demand of our questions.
Upstairs in the hallway and the kitchen, I saw more activity. I don't know if I saw something in the window, but maybe that's just paranoia, but I did see something. But yeah, it's been a different experience, but to me, as I'm in the building all day every day, I listen to nooks and crannies, and I don't know if I was over trying to listen for nooks and crannies and not pay attention to what I was meant to be listening for. That's about me.
Either. The room with most activity I felt was the kitchen area, especially the second smaller room, which definitely didn't like the feeling in there. There was a feeling of sort of being watched. And yeah, just generally made you feel a bit woozy. But we did get a good response on the planchette. Planchette was moving around quite a lot. So yeah, all in all, very good night.